He had the enviable task of following his wife, First Lady Michelle Obama, who also gave perhaps even a more fulsome discussion of why Kamala Harris is the best choice for November, and also had quite a few zingers related to her Republican opponent, Donald Trump. And Dana and Abby, one of the things that was so interesting is, amidst all of that, both of them were giving the unmistakable message to the crowd: yes, this is fun, we're having a great time, this is very exciting, but this is not what the next 77 days are going to be like. It's going to be tough, your candidates are going to make mistakes, the other side is going to fight like hell, and both of them said in different ways, let's get to work, because this is not going to be easy, even if we're all having a good time right now.
Yeah, and they were both clearly trying to speak to the base, to speak to the energized grassroots, and to keep them completely energized. But there were so many points in both of their speeches, particularly, as you said, President Obama's speech, where they were talking to the swing voters. They were talking to the undecided voters. They were even talking to the voters in President Obama's case that came over to his side but were, Republicans or Reagan Republicans before, depending on where they lived. And
the people who allowed him to win Indiana.
Exactly.
That happened, kids. You can Google it.
I mean, not to mention North Carolina. We were talking to the governor.
Still.
Right. And so, but it is that kind of state that they are reaching out to. I do have to say, President Obama is unmistakably extraordinary, as you said, an orator. There's no Republican who would say anything different. But when Michelle Obama was speaking, we were talking about, we couldn't hear.
Yeah, that was the loudest this arena had gotten.
This place was going absolutely nuts, particularly the one line when she went at, so much for when they go,
When they go high, they go high, yeah.
When she talked about the fact that he dislikes them effectively for one reason, and that is because they are black. That's effectively what she said. And then she twisted the knife and said that they have the black jobs.
Tonight, we heard from two of the best players in politics right now. Two people who can speak in ways that almost no one else in the party can speak, and particularly Michelle Obama. That speech really electrified this arena. I don't even think Barack Obama, no offense to him, his speech was excellent. It was not received in the same way.
Wasn't.
I think we just have to be honest by that. And
he also gave more of a red meat speech, we have to say. He was appealing to better angels, and talking loftily about work to win over people to your side who you might not agree with.
I think they had different jobs, right?
Yeah.
They were doing different things. I also think Michelle Obama, what she often does so well is define America in a way that she thinks that people relate to, in a way that is in contrast with Donald Trump. She's been, actually both of them have been doing this now since they left office. They were in this position in 2016, making this case for Hillary Clinton. And they experienced what it was like to make that case and then be there on election night when Donald Trump won. I heard that in their speeches tonight. The admonition to not take it for granted that this is really hard, that it's going to take a lot of work to talk to people that you disagree with, to insist on American values. I think they feel burned by their own experiences trying to convince this country to seek their better angels. They're doing it again, but they're doing it again with, I think, a kind of edge to it that was not there before.
It's interesting you say that. You just remind me of something, which is after Trump's convention speech in 2016, which described a very bleak America, President Obama, I believe the next day, said something along the lines of, the sun is shining, the birds are singing. It was kind of dismissive of the picture that Trump had painted. And I remember getting in an argument with one of Obama's speechwriters about the fact that, forget what Trump said, there are Americans who were feeling the pain, even if you don't think Donald Trump is the cure.
And they acknowledge that.
that tone that Obama took that morning when he kind of was dismissive of what Trump was trying to appeal to is very different from
Yep.
what Trump said.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think they understand
yeah.
They definitely do.
now better. And look,
How
honestly,
can they not?
the
They
whole
live through
right.
it.
I mean, the whole country does now. They understand the challenge that is there. I mean, they're no less optimistic or idealistic about what the country ought to be, but I think they understand that Trump is appealing to so many Americans,
Yeah.
and that the pitfall of Democrats, 8 years ago was not understanding that.
So, Anderson, one of the things that's interesting, I asked Maggie Haberman of the New York Times the other day about the more blatantly racist social media posts that have come from the Trump campaign, painting contrasting pictures of the world that Trump wants to provide Americans in the world that Kamala Harris does. And the one that Kamala Harris does is full of people of color who are either homeless migrants or murderous thugs, et cetera, et cetera. And Haberman's response was that she thought there was actually strategy to it, that Donald Trump had been trying to bait Kamala Harris and the Kamala Harris campaign into an argument about race, that there actually was rhyme and reason, a method to the madness, if you will. It was interesting tonight, the particular zingers that both First Lady Michelle Obama and former President Barack Obama made at Donald Trump, because they seemed quite targeted and aimed at things that Donald Trump might be insecure about. And I am specifically referring to his hand gestures when discussing crowd sizes. Over to you.
I want to go actually just straight to Van Jones, because Van, I think Michelle Obama's speech was probably the most effective, powerful political speech I've ever heard. It was rather remarkable.
I didn't know how much I missed them. I missed them. I missed that. I miss hearing that. Biden did something important last night, and he transferred the machinery of the party to Kamala Harris. The Obamas renewed the magic of the movement. That's what they were transferring. And they did it beautifully. They did it powerfully. Obama used nostalgia in a beautiful way. He didn't say, "Make America great again, we're going to go back." He reminded everybody of the best things about our families, about our neighborhoods. That was beautiful. And then Michelle, she wasn't doing the minister role. She was really doing the coaching role, in that she called the right out. She said, you guys, she talked about the affirmative action of generational wealth. She talked about the luxury of whining and cheating that other people don't have. But she didn't stop there. She also called the left up. And she said the whining on the left needs to stop. The Goldilocks, they're not perfect. This was a masterful act of leadership. It was a sacred task. They took it on well. It was like an oasis. I didn't realize I had been in a spiritual desert until they created that oasis on that stage, and they did a beautiful job tonight. David?
Look, campaigns operate on different levels, and one of them is on the level of issues, and certainly they engaged in some of that, president in particular. But they also operate on a plane of values.
Yeah.
And these were value-laden speeches. And the message was, and it's something that Kamala Harris has been saying, there's so much that we share. And, democracy is in many ways an ongoing battle between cynicism and hope. And the goal of the cynics is to divide us and appeal to our worst instincts. And the goal of the optimist is to inspire us to hope. When she said right at the beginning of her speech that there was something wonderfully magical in the air, and she said it's the contagious power of hope.
Yeah, man.
And so what they're trying to do here, and I think what Kamala Harris has been doing in her speeches, is to set up a counterpoint to this relentlessly negative, divisive, grinding quality to Donald Trump and the Donald Trump campaign, and his reaction to the Kamala Harris challenge has been to become more grindingly negative, more divisive, more appealing to people's sense of fear. And I think they are setting up a contrast on what they're saying, not just to the base of the Democratic Party, but to every American. We're better than this. Think about the values that you grew up with, that you teach your children, that you want your children to adhere to, that we benefited from our parents. We should want that in our leaders.
Yeah.
We should want that in our government. And I think it's, I think it's a very powerful, powerful thing. I've seen it. I've seen it at work. I've seen it move a country. I think it can move a country again.